guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and it's time for your weekly reading tea break. I actually almost completely forgot to film this because I completely forgot it was Monday. It's the last day of the Christmas holidays. We're going back to work tomorrow. I have no concept of time at the moment. So because it's the first tea break of the new year, and I'm back from my little Christmas hiatus, I thought that I would talk about my reading resolutions in this tea break and sort of my plans for 2023, but of course I want to catch you guys up on what I've been reading this week. I read some stuff over Christmas, not as much as I would have wanted to, but I can talk about those in my December wrap-up, which is coming up on Thursday. But the book that I just finished this week, and I finished yesterday, is my first book of 2023, and was a great choice, but also like made me cry really hard on the sofa and I got laughed at a lot. I read Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan. This is the sequel to Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and I absolutely loved it. It's one of those very rare books where the ending is perfect and made me sob my eyes out. I cried so hard. But as a little spoiler alert for my best books of 2022, Daughter of the Moon Goddess was actually on that list, and this very much lives up to its predecessor. It was so good. I love the writing. I love the characters. I'm sad it's a duology, but it was also the perfect size for this particular series and the story she wanted to tell. It was so good. Would highly recommend. Call me crying afterwards. The books that I'm currently reading are like on two wildly opposite ends of the spectrum. So the first one, I'm actually reading 1984 by George Orwell. I'm going through this very slowly because I am reading it pretty much on my Kindle before bed, so I can like curl up on my side and read it. But I'm absolutely in love with this Penguin edition. Whoever designed this cover needs a serious pay raise. But we watch, I can't remember if I mentioned this before, we watched Brazil, which is one of my husband's favorite movies, and I really loved it. I had never seen it before, and it's very 1984 inspired, so I was finally like, gonna read the book. I tried to read it once on a computer, and it's not the right way to read it. Nothing is read well on a computer for me personally. So I picked this up, I'm about 25% through, really enjoying it so far. And during the Waterstones 50% off hardback sale, which I'll do a haul for with my Christmas gifts coming up later this month, I saw this at the register like as we were checking out, and I nabbed it because this is one of my favorite movies. I'm about halfway through my Neighbor Totoro, which is the novelization of the film, and it's so sweet and wonderful. I love this movie so much. If you've not seen it, it's a children's film. It's really wonderful, appropriate for all ages, but it kind of fills in some gaps of the sort of movie and stuff because you're getting the actual like internal narration of the characters, and it has the illustrations, and it's just the best thing. It's really sweet. I'm halfway through. I'll finish this up tonight probably or tomorrow, but it's really lovely. So if you're a big fan of Studio Ghibli, I don't know if they've done other novelizations of those films, but you should check this one out. In terms of what I'm planning on reading next, honestly, I have absolutely no idea. I have these like massive, I was showing this to Amber before we did our reading sprints yesterday. I have two massive stacks of books, both about this size, from Christmas and my pound per book savings, where I save £1 for every book that I read during the year and then buy a buttload of books at the end of the year. I got a lot of stuff to show off and to read, so I think these are going to go on my nightstand and I'm just going to start picking my way through them. But yeah, because I have like 20 to 30 new books to pick from, I have no idea what I'm going to start next, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. I've got some crime, I've got some fantasy, some horror, some sci-fi, and I think because, I'm gonna put these down, hold on. And because I loved Heart of the Sun Warrior so much, that's the first fantasy book I've read in ages. And I am a big fantasy reader, but I've gone deep into horror for a long time. I am very much feeling the fantasy book vibes at the moment. I'm also feeling incredibly motivated to read. I think in the last part of the year, I tend to fall off of my reading a little bit, and because of the stress of the holidays and stress of work, we have a huge year-end period at work. Yeah, I tend to fall off of my reading a little bit, so I'm really excited to get back to reading. I'm particularly excited to get back into reading fantasy books, especially. So speaking of 2023 and my reading for this year, I have some resolutions, but I did also just go through my 2022 reading resolutions video, and they are almost exactly the same, and I achieved none of those last year, which is a little bit sad. So last year I wanted to primarily make more time for reading bigger books. I also wanted to reduce my TBR to under, not over, 900. Of course, I added 100 books to my total TBR between the 1st of January and the 31st of December. Great. I also finished almost no series. So this year I'm taking a couple more steps because I do have like an organized TBR project that I'm going to be doing. I did do a like TBR support group challenge on Storygraph, which I'll see if I can find the link for it and I will post it in the description for you guys if you want to join in. It has a bunch of like random prompts and you can like set books against it, which is quite cool. And then I did a private challenge for myself where I put all of my unfinished series into like that particular Storygraph challenge, and I'm going to try to like tick those off because I love a list and I love like ticking off boxes and stuff. So I think that will be helpful. And I have also gone ahead and teaming up with my friend Amber, as you may have seen from our reading sprints. We are trying to encourage each other to read our TBRs down, and I have a Discord server that has a TBR support group in it, which is quite fun, and we've been talking about our TBRs and reducing and just generally being nice to each other. Also have these reading sprints that I'm doing with my friend Amber, which we're going to try to do like once a week for as long as we can, so keep an eye out for those. But yeah, I think that those are going to be really, really helpful. I think having an outside influence that will help me rather than just my brain desperately trying to tell myself to obey these rules that I've set up for myself. I think it's going to work out a little bit better this year. So speaking of Storygraph, I did set my goal to 120 books for the year 2023. That is a little bit more than I ended up reading last year, which was 117. I usually read between like 110 to like 100, and I've never reached 130, but somewhere in that kind of range comfortably every year. So I'm hoping to give myself a little bit of a boost and put it to 120 instead of my usual 100. I also set a pages goal and a like audiobook hours goal, but it seems like a lot of the books in Storygraph don't have the correct number of pages against them. So like, for example, when I was adding in Heart of the Sun Warrior, I realized that the page count was 400 instead of like 456 on Storygraph, and I was like, I'm not missing out those 56 pages. How dare you rob me? So yeah, I've decided to, I'm gonna delete those goals. I'm just gonna keep the books because that's the easiest thing and it's gonna cause me a lot less anxiety. Ooh. Sophia's licking my hand, so I thought that I'd just bring her up. So I also would like to make a little bit more time for reading. I tend to get a little bit distracted by things like knitting. Sockpocalypse went off without a hitch though. Everyone enjoyed their socks. I still can't seem to put the needles down though, so I'm going to make more time for audiobooks, for example. I'm trying to read a little bit before bed every night, even if it's just a small amount, and sometimes take the time to just sit on the sofa with my book. Those are things that I've not been doing over the past few months, and it's really, really shown. I've been reading so much less than I have in normal months, and I really want to get back up to sort of those previous slumpy levels. And I think that feeling really motivated with January, that's really going to help. But yeah, basically 2023, my main goal is just to sort of get back into reading and the joy of reading a little bit more, reading the things that I really, really love, not feeling a lot of pressure, and just kind of having a really, really good year, which is a really like fluffy goal to have, but it's all right. So that is it for this week's reading tea break. I would love to hear what you're planning your first book of 2023 to be. If you have read Heart of the Sun Warrior, let me know what you thought of the ending, because I thought the ending was perfect and it was so good and like made me cry so hard. In general, just let me know how your week has been, how your Christmas was. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.